She thought the forest had already taken everything from her. She was wrong, because tonight, in the dark, something ancient was watching, and it was hungry. If you believe survival stories should feel real, brutal, and unforgettable, subscribe now, because this episode proves that sometimes, the wild doesn't test you, it tries to erase you. The forest did not sleep that night, and neither did she. The girl lay half-hidden beneath a torn tarp stretched between two bent branches, her body pressed against cold soil still damp from the rain that had fallen hours earlier, every muscle locked in tension as the sounds of the wilderness crept closer, louder, more deliberate, as if the forest itself had leaned in to listen to her breathing. She had learned by now that silence was never safety. Silence meant something was waiting. Her name barely mattered anymore. The forest had stripped her down to instinct and breath and pain. Somewhere beyond the reach of the dying fire, the wolf watched. She could not see him, but she could feel his presence the way prey senses a shadow before it moves, a pressure in the air, a tightening in the chest. He had followed her since dawn, keeping his distance, gray fur blending into bark and stone, eyes reflecting firelight like broken glass. He was not attacking. Not yet. Hunger made animals patient. She shifted her weight slowly, careful not to let the dried leaves crack beneath her elbow, her fingers brushing the crude spear she had carved from a fallen branch earlier that day, its tip hardened in fire and stained dark with old blood, boar blood, from a kill that had almost killed her instead. Her leg still throbbed where the tusk had grazed her thigh. She pressed her jaw tight, refusing to make a sound. Pain was a language the forest understood too well. The fire popped once, then sank lower, its warmth fading, shadows stretching like claws. That was when she felt it. Not heard. Felt. A vibration through the ground, subtle but wrong, as if the earth itself had shifted. The wolf's ears flattened in the darkness. He sensed it too. From somewhere deep within the undergrowth came the sound of movement that did not belong to paws or hooves, a heavy, sliding whisper, slow and deliberate, circling. Her stomach dropped. She had seen the tracks earlier near the stream but had prayed they were old. They were not. The giant python had returned. It emerged without sound, thicker than a fallen tree, its scales catching what little firelight remained, patterned in dark greens and mud-black shadows, its body moving in impossible curves that bent logic and fear together. It was longer than her shelter, longer than the distance between her and the wolf, longer than any living thing should be. Its head rose slightly, tongue flicking, tasting heat, fear, life. The wolf growled low, a warning not meant for her but for the intruder, teeth flashing white in the darkness as he stepped into the firelight, muscles coiled, torn ear twitching. Predator met predator, and the girl realized the forest had made its choice. Tonight, only one would leave breathing. The python struck first, not at her, but at the wolf, its speed exploding out of stillness, body surging forward like a living avalanche. The wolf dodged by inches, snapping at scales that felt like stone, his jaws closing uselessly against armor built to kill creatures much larger than him. The ground erupted in leaves and dirt as the snake recoiled, then lunged again, looping its body around a tree trunk, using it as leverage to swing with crushing force. The wolf was slammed sideways, rolling, yelping once before regaining his footing, eyes wild but unbroken. The girl did not think. She moved. She grabbed her spear and ran, not away, but toward them, screaming, a raw, desperate sound ripped from her chest, firelight exploding as she kicked burning embers into the air, the sudden chaos confusing the python just long enough. She drove the spear down with everything she had, the point scraping scales, failing to pierce, the shock rattling her bones. The python turned, attention shifting, coils tightening, head lowering until one massive eye fixed on her. In that gaze she saw no anger, no cruelty. Only purpose. Only hunger. The wolf attacked again, leaping onto the snake's back, claws raking uselessly as the python whipped around, coils flying, catching the wolf midair and slamming him hard into the ground. The impact knocked the breath from him. The girl screamed his pain like it was her own. Something inside her broke then. Fear burned away, replaced by something feral and sharp. She grabbed a burning branch from the fire and thrust it toward the python's face. The flame kissed its eye. The snake recoiled violently, thrashing, body smashing into trees, snapping branches like bones. The forest roared. She ran to the wolf, dragging him back as the python recovered, its rage now fully awake. The wolf struggled, blood darkening his fur, but he did not bite her. He did not run. He stayed. Allies, forged in terror. The python came again, and this time, it was not missing. The python wrapped the world in its body. That was the only way her mind could understand it as the coils closed around her leg, the pressure immediate and horrifying, bone deep, stealing breath she hadn't even realized she was holding. She fell hard, the spear flying from her grasp, the burning branch extinguished as it hit damp earth. The snake's strength was not sudden, it was patient, merciless, tightening inch by inch, squeezing life out slowly, efficiently. She screamed, clawing at scales that tore skin like knives, her vision blurring as blood rushed to her head. Somewhere nearby, the wolf regained his footing. He charged with a sound that did not belong to an animal but to war itself. He went for the head, jaws locking onto the python's face, teeth finding softer flesh near the jaw hinge. The snake hissed, a thunderous sound, releasing her leg just enough for her to wrench free, crawling backward, gasping, legs numb and shaking. The python coiled again, this time around the wolf, lifting him off the ground, constricting, ribs creaking under pressure meant to kill elk, not wolves. The girl saw his eyes bulge, his tongue loll, his body fighting even as it failed. She knew she had seconds. She grabbed the spear and ran to the fire, plunging the tip deep into the coals until the wood smoked and blackened, the point glowing faintly. She ran back, ignoring the pain screaming through her body, and drove the spear down into the python's eye with a force born of grief and rage and desperation. The spear pierced. The snake convulsed violently, releasing the wolf as its body thrashed uncontrollably, blood dark and thick pouring from the wound. The forest shook with its death scream, a sound that echoed long after it fell still. Silence followed, heavy, absolute. The girl collapsed beside the wolf, both of them breathing, barely. She pressed her forehead against his matted fur, tears cutting clean lines through the dirt on her face. She had survived again, but survival, she was learning, always demanded a price. She did not see the second shadow watching from the trees. Dawn came gray and cold, revealing the damage in brutal clarity. The python lay still, massive and terrible even in death. The wolf limped but lived. The girl's leg was bruised deep purple, her arms shredded, her body shaking from shock and exhaustion. She thought the worst was over. She was wrong. As she prepared to leave, packing what little she had left, the forest shifted again. Not predator, not prey, humans. And that was when she realized the forest's greatest danger had not yet shown its face. The forest changed the moment she sensed them. It was not a sound at first, but an absence of one, the birds falling silent in a way that sent a cold warning straight through her spine. The wolf lifted his head sharply, ears angling forward, a low rumble vibrating from his chest. Humans. She knew that smell now too, smoke, metal, sweat layered with something sharp and careless. Worse than predators. She moved instinctively, dragging the wolf with her into the ferns, heart pounding so hard she feared it might give her away. Her hands shook as she smeared mud across her torn arms and face, dulling the pale shine of skin that could betray her position. She had learned quickly in the wild that humans were not rescuers by default. Sometimes they were hunters, sometimes thieves, sometimes worse, and always unpredictable. Through the branches she saw them, 3 men, rough-clothed, carrying machetes and a rifle that glinted in the weak light. One laughed loudly, the sound grating and wrong in the forest, while another kicked at the giant python's body, cursing in disbelief at its size. They argued about selling the skin, about money, about how lucky they were. None of them noticed the girl watching from only yards away, her breath shallow, fingers tightening around the spear. The wolf bristled, hackles rising, but she pressed her palm gently against his shoulder, a silent command. Not yet. Survival had taught her patience too. One of the men wandered closer, stepping dangerously near the ferns. She could smell him now. He paused, frowning, sensing something off, eyes scanning the trees. Her muscles coiled, ready to run or fight, but then the wind shifted, carrying their scent away. He shrugged and turned back. Relief washed through her in a wave so strong her knees nearly buckled. They left after an hour, hacking clumsy chunks from the python and dragging them away, their voices fading until the forest breathed again. Only then did she move, emerging slowly, legs trembling, adrenaline draining her strength. The wolf stayed close, limping but alert, his presence no longer a threat but a shield. They were bound now, not by choice but by shared blood and survival. She knew she couldn't stay. The fire was gone, the shelter compromised, the area tainted by death and humans alike. She gathered what she could, cordage, a blade stolen from the men's discarded pack, dried meat salvaged from the python's remains, and turned north, toward higher ground. The forest resisted her every step, roots grabbing at her feet, branches tearing at her skin as if trying to reclaim her. By midday, the pain in her leg became unbearable, each step sending knives through muscle and bone. She collapsed near a stream, vision swimming. The wolf stood watch as she tended her wounds, washing blood away, binding the bruised leg with strips of cloth. She noticed then how thin he was, ribs faintly visible beneath fur, how old scars crossed his body like a map of battles survived. This was not a young wolf chasing easy prey. This was a survivor, like her. That night, as rain returned, she dreamed of the python, of coils tightening, of the forest closing in. She woke screaming, the wolf's warm body pressed against her side, his presence grounding her back in reality. She whispered thanks to him, voice breaking, unsure if he understood words but certain he understood need. Days blurred together as they moved deeper into the wilderness, away from human trails, deeper into danger and mystery. She learned to hunt small game with traps, to read the wolf's body language, to trust his warnings. He, in turn, learned her scent, her sounds, her signals. They became a unit, but the forest was not done testing them. On the 7th day, they reached a ravine split by a raging river, swollen by rain. Crossing meant risk, but turning back meant death. She fashioned a rope from vines, anchoring it to a tree, heart racing as she stepped into the torrent. The current nearly tore her away. Halfway across, the rope snapped. She screamed as she was pulled under, water filling her mouth, body slamming into rocks. The wolf leapt without hesitation, teeth clamping onto her pack, dragging her toward the bank with a strength fueled by instinct and loyalty. They collapsed together, soaked, shivering, alive. She laughed then, a hysterical sound that bordered on tears, because sometimes survival felt too close to madness. But on the far side of the ravine, they found something impossible. A ruined structure, half swallowed by vines and moss, old concrete cracked and broken, symbols carved into stone that did not belong to any modern language. Evidence that someone, something, had lived here long before her. The air felt heavy, wrong, charged with a sense of being watched. The wolf growled, refusing to step closer. She should have listened. Inside the ruins, she found bones. Human bones. Fresh, and etched into the wall, scratched deep and frantic, were words she could barely read through the moss and age. Don't trust the silence. Behind her, a branch snapped. The forest had followed her.